You'll see it on the stream. Hey, this is Ian, and that's Larry below me, and this is Lethal Sales, and of course we've got Rhonda and Wendy on the four square kind of scenario. And who else is here? We got Gary. So we're going to start with this new lead-in. It's short. Give us your opinion. That's it. Here we go. Go ahead, Larry.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our pre-4th of July Independence Show. With all the fashion and craziness going around, I think we'd like to celebrate all the great things in America. And we've Americanized Ian as much as we can, so we might even catch him at a ball game eating a hot dog.
There you go.
You know what? I just saw his face pop up. Why don't we start off with my good and great friend, Jeff Shearer. This guy that loves America. He likes to work. He's big on his family. I know his son personally. Wife always seems happy. Jeff, why don't you tell us some things you enjoy about our country and that you're going to celebrate this 4th of July?
Well, despite my strong feelings, maybe a little left of, I shouldn't say left or right because that puts me in a pocket there. So a little varied from 50%. But I think it's great that people can and really should be able to speak their opinion. And Larry, you and I say it all the time, man, we may not agree on everything and our politics and stuff too, but you know what? We respect each other and we get along. And you know what? Everybody's entitled to their opinion, even though you're wrong. But, you know, I think about, you know, we have a very strong connection to our church. And I think about the other countries where you get killed for going to church, you know? So, man, we take it for granted, I think, a lot of things that we have. And yeah, we get pissed off at, you know, when the pumpkin does something stupid. But, you know, at the end of the day, we're still better off than any other country that's out there.
We are. And it's interesting. Jeff, for anyone that doesn't know, tends to skew more liberal. I tend to skew more conservative. But I think, and this is not a knock at anybody that's liberal, one of the things that's so insane is that some people that protest don't realize that they're protesting the concept of a country that allows them to protest. You know, again, conservatives, I'm sure liberals look at conservatives and lose their minds. Conservatives look at liberals and lose their mind. But I can't think of anything more ironically stupid or short-sighted than when they were protesting against Israel and you saw signs that said, "We are gays for Palestine." Well, the problem is if you went to Palestine and you announced you were gay, they'd throw you off the building. So I think we can all agree that it's great to have a country where even if you're right or wrong, you have the right to voice your opinion as long as you're not threatening or hurting anybody. And it's pretty great. You know, the foresight of the guys that drew up the Declaration of Independence, with all the internal battles, you know, the South wanted slavery to be in, or they wouldn't have formed the country, and all the internal battles. But look at how we've held up. We're about to celebrate our 200th birthday next year. Look at since then. Look what's happened in Russia.
250th.
What's that?
250th.
Yeah. I got
250.
Your math's a little light, man. Your math's a little light.
I wanted to see if you were paying attention up a little.
Yeah,
because Russell Hill's very strict with this stuff. There'll be a quiz right here.
200 for the fireworks with Gerald Ford in D.C. with my parents.
Okay. All right. Abdul, I always suspected you were a little bit of a wild thing, but now that I know you're going to mention Gerald Ford, it's locked in. He's one of our wilder guys.
I was
But the point is,
I actually got arrested on the 200th anniversary in Chicago. It was a mistake, not me. Didn't do anything. I was watching some other guys get arrested, and I got hoisted up by the cops and thrown in a paddock.
I love it. But and just wanted to see if Abdul was paying attention on our 250th anniversary. Look at what's transpired to other great major powers since then. Shortly after we became a country, They took the ruling class of France and cut their heads off. Okay, the expression used to be the sun never set on British Empire because they were everywhere. We know that's not the case anymore.
Well, Afghanistan was the first one to get off on 1919. So we were the first one to get independence from the British before World War One.
Okay, I like that.
And that's when the British start crumbling from then on, because Gandhi was in Cambridge at that time, and he took inspiration from the Afghans.
Wendy, I've been to Abdul's basement, and he has a dartboard with Winston Churchill's face on it. So, very interesting. So, we're in a country where you have the right to be foolish or bold or brave, but I guess the key word is you have the freedom. Only in case she has to fold up her table because Wendy's in the process of moving. Wendy, what do you and Fred appreciate most about this country? And we'd love to hear your thoughts.
So I love the freedom to either be vocal or not be vocal about what your beliefs are, because truly in the spirit of yin to a yang and everything, Fred's way too loud politically and he likes all that stuff, and I don't. I completely, even to the point where I agree to disagree. And then there's a second piece of this, but I'll make it fast. So like even the lady that I'm renting from, I know that she has the same beliefs for me, but she made a comment about like how people that hang flags or don't hang flags. There's so many mixed opinions. There's so much of a divide in our country right now that's absolutely ridiculous when people take it to too far of an extent. So I love the fact that we can choose. I love the fact that if we choose to be involved or remove ourselves from it, we can do that. It's okay. But at the same time, because my agents, or my angels as I call them, are from all around the world, I've seen how many benefits there are to being an American than to go through the challenges you guys in this room know right now. There's some ugly things going on in our world, and other people don't have our opportunity. So I say God bless America simply because it's a melting pot where everybody came for refuge, and for a country where we could have these freedoms and that our forefathers fought for them. And I'm just really proud. I didn't mean to go, I'm proud to be an American, but I am. America!
Me too. I noticed we have a long lost friend, William Granada's back, and my man Stan Scher is balancing a call with the dealer. How about if we jump you guys in, Stan first and then William, in case you have to jump off. William, it's great to see you again. Stan, it's always good to see you. Tell us why you're proud to be an American and what your thoughts are as we near the 250th anniversary of our great country.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me. I mean, look, I came here when I was 5 years old, to be frank. So I'm an immigrant. I love this country. You know, it's so funny. I'm writing a book right now, and I kind of alluded to my parents' old school thinking, right? Worrying, mindset, right? All that stuff. That's how I was raised. I was raised with that because from the old country, everybody's worried about what's in the news and all this nonsense that's out there, and they get negative. And I'm very grateful because I'm in an industry that allows me to be all I can be, right? And so I was able to shift my mindset, hang around with more successful people, learn a lot more, when you get out of the negativity. So bringing that up, that's the upbringing that we had, right? So I love that I'm in a country where I can be all that I can be. I can do anything I want. I have the freedom. I can be a success or I can be a failure. It's up to me. And I can't really, point fingers at anybody. And so I appreciate this country. That's what it comes down to.
Well put, Mr. Granada. Welcome back, my friend. What are your Stan? Thank you so much. What are your thoughts on America as we approach Independence Day?
William, you're muted.
We will come back. Oh, there he is. There's my man. Go ahead, William.
How we doing, Larry? I first had to figure out how to unmute myself.
It's been a while,
Hey, if it makes you feel any better, William, since I started the show, half the group's been trying to figure out a way to mute me. So it's kind of the inverse proportion working.
That's okay, Larry, more than half.
More than half, okay.
Happy,
Well, we're a republic, not a democracy, so it doesn't have to be a strict numbers game. Go ahead.
happy upcoming 4th to everyone. As far as I've had the fortunate ability to travel outside of this country, not to too many different places, but most specifically like the Caribbean area and so forth, in most of the United States. And I think what I could say there is we're just fortunate to have opportunity, right? Some other places, it's legitimately a caste system. Some places in 2025, as we speak, there's live slavery going on, or a version of it. And in this country, as long as you keep your name clean and do the right thing, you're going to be given opportunities that are going to allow you to not only move yourself forward, but potentially put your family and the people around you that you're responsible for. So I'm really glad for that as an American. That being said, I think that as Americans, we really need to look at the country as a whole and realize that we're not so much far ahead of the world more than what we think ourselves. And I think that probably a good adage to that is we should never think more highly of ourselves than what we ought to, especially when you get to travel internationally. We're a lot more fortunate than many places in the world, but to the same degree, we don't have the same freedoms that we think we do. But it's all based upon our own perspective. Happy 4th to everyone, and good to see you, Larry, and everybody else.
It's a pleasure. What's interesting is American exceptionalism doesn't revolve around so much as the people that are in this country. It revolves around the people that preceded us, that drew up a bold statement that everyone had the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. John Locke kind of was locked into the pursuit of happiness, but Jefferson quantified it, and it's why people are willing to risk their lives to get in here. How about if we just go right to left and get everybody the heck in here? David, it was a pleasure talking to you earlier in the day. You know all about an attitude of gratitude. Tell us why you're glad you're in this country and what your thoughts are, and then we'll jump to my man, Doug Reeves.
So I have a weird perspective on that. I see everybody as a foreigner in this country except for me. Don't take that the wrong way, but my grandmother was Lakota Sioux, and so it's a little bit different. On my mom's side, they're American Indian. Their last name is Aguanagua. So I mean, we have so many nationalities built into my family. My mom's father was from Sicily, so we have an Italian background. Somewhere in there, we probably have some Spanish ancestry as well, being that we have a lot of cousins with the Bermudez last name, and a lot of them are from Texas. On my dad's side, they were Prussian mercenaries that came here before the Revolutionary War, and their job was to remove the Dutch from New York, and they founded Virginia Military Institute, and they served with Pulaski. So I mean, I have a long military history in this country and lineage, and especially with being a 4th generation and my son being a 5th generation card person. So I guess when I think about America, I think about the fact that you have unlimited potential. Your limitations are boundless, and America gives you that freedom, where you can always create your path. I'm grateful because of the fact that I have these freedoms, and I've traveled all over the world too for the military, and I've served my country, and I've done what I could as well. But I think that the freedoms that we have, a lot of people take for granted. I do have a strong Republican background, even though I disagree with a lot of things too. But the bottom line is I'm grateful to be in this country. I'm grateful for everything we have. I've never wanted to live anywhere else in this world. And I think that for me, any given moment in my life, I can pivot and really just do anything I want. And I'm not bound by anything. Whether I want to sell cars, or I want to start a business, or I want to sell software, or I want to start an electric company or a social media company. I've been so fortunate and so blessed to meet all of you guys and everybody in America that's just opened doors for me constantly. And I don't think that I would have that anywhere else. So that's all I have to say.
I love it. I love it. Doug, your thoughts? And David, thank you so much.
You know, I think a lot of it would be a reiteration of what everybody else is saying, but the thing that entered my mind was choice. You have a choice to do anything in the United States. You can be anything, you can buy anything, you can do anything, you can virtually see anything. And it's all right there. I think that's what I think we perhaps take for granted, is that no matter what you want, you can do it. No matter what you want, you can probably get it. No matter what you want to see, you can probably see it. It's all here. And I think that's part of the biggest thing is it's a choice. You can make your own choice on anything.
Yeah, and that certainly can't be underestimated. I mean, the reason people risk their lives to come here is boundless opportunity. You just don't have these same opportunities and the same freedom of choice that you have other places. I think you and David are absolutely right. Listen, we'll jump in a second to Gary and Russell. Like I said, I'm just going right to left, but the guy that introduced us is Canadian. But man, you talk about a guy that understands the concept of meeting people in the middle, because I don't know anybody that doesn't get along with Ian Nethercott. Always open-minded, always willing. I've seen him have shows where you had three people that if they were alone together, they'd probably do a street fight, but he melds them together. Ian, I know you respect and love your country, but I know you're a big fan of America. What are your thoughts before we jump to Gary Silman and Russell Hill?
I've had the pleasure to live in both countries and work in both countries. I've also been educated in both countries, both Canada and the U.S., and I've also had the experience to travel in many countries around the world. So I spent time in Asia, spent time in Europe, spent time in Canada and the U.S. I think when you look at it,
is there any hint that the authorities are closing in on you? Because it sounds like there's quite a bit of travel here.
Well, the thing that's interesting is as you travel around the world, and I'll use the thoughts from one of my university profs when I did my master's degree a couple of years ago. He said you learn something from every country you visit, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So at the end of the day, there's always good and bad everywhere. But I think the major difference when you look at, to pick two countries, Canada and the U.S. as examples, is the U.S. were basically people who said, okay, screw the king and whatever he thinks. And I agree with them. Half of my family left at that time anyway. I have a very diverse background, German, British, Irish, and Scottish. But, my grandfather also lived and worked in both countries as well. So, back in the, teens and 20s, there was really no border. People moved back and forth. Today, it's a little different, but at the same time, there's a lot more similarities than there are differences. I know federally, politically in Canada, there's a lack of common sense. It's been true, unfortunately, for too long. But I would say that's true anywhere where citizens and voters don't hold the leaders to account. There's good and bad leaders from every stripe, but it's the job of the citizens of that country and the taxpayers to hold them to account. And what I can say is that Canadians, not to beat them up, but to beat them up at the same time, they tolerate a lot more BS, in my opinion. Part of the reason why I enjoy living in the U.S. and probably will do again at some point is there's more freedom in the U.S. economy from a law point of view, from a legislation point of view, from a constitution point of view, and that has to do with the founding of the country. But there are a lot more similarities as well. So I think at the end of the day, take the time to travel, enjoy where you live and what you can do, and be thankful for it. But more importantly, connect people with different mindsets. It's not necessarily about getting along. It's about what can you do together. And to me, that's the success of both countries, is bring people in from other parts of the world who can add to that growth of the economy and growth of that country and make it unique. And I think that that's something Americans have always done well. At some points in Canada, we've done that well. Not recently, but at some points. And really, at the end of the day, both countries are filled with immigrants from different parts of the world that add to the fabric. And I think that's the big takeaway for me. But also, I mean, I'm an equal opportunity connector. To me, it doesn't matter where you're from. It's what you're willing to do. And to me, that's what America stands for versus sometimes it can that people get jobs because they hung around too long. And in my opinion, that's not the right way to do it. But that's my 10
Ian
cents.
brilliantly said, my favorite president, Harry Truman, bowed into what you were saying about accountability. He said, we get the government we deserve.
Yeah.
When we don't pay attention, when we don't realize that our franchise, our ability to vote for the people who represent us is really the strongest tool and the greatest right we have, it's very hard. And it's interesting, you look at things from different perspectives. Without Canada and the French, and I'm dialing back to David Lozek, the Indian population, we would have been in a different position because George Washington, as a commander, not the commander of the entire forces, he accidentally and inadvertently started the French-Indian War. And while it was kind of a bonehead move, as forcing, but it brought him to renown. And at that point, between that and frankly coming up with the lightning rod, they were probably the two most famous people in America. And obviously, without either one of those, they were probably the most indispensable people, not Jefferson or Adams or any of them. But very well said, Ian. Mr. Silman, we're just going right to left.
Yeah.
I know you're a proud American.
So as my proud American, which is actually really cool, my youngest daughter Julia, is now going to be a senior at Roger Williams University in Rhode Island. And there's a little town that she just moved to called Bristol, Rhode Island. And Bristol, Rhode Island claims to have the oldest 4th of July parade, dating back to 1785. The parade route is going to go right by, they painted the road the other day where my daughter lives, and from their second floor balcony, they get to watch this parade.
Wow.
So, talk about tradition. And, this is Rhode Island. Rhode Island has colleges and boats, nothing else. Maybe a little farmland. And so this is...
It has more than that.
Well, this is where they were building the ships. And this is where, everything kind of, how we inhabited. We came to America and they were living off of the sea. So I love going to visit there, but that is so cool to see and to be able to live amongst that and see that history every day. So that's my patriotic, which are really cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing the pictures and the parade. But only in America can we get an address to go meet Larry Feldman in Southington, Connecticut, to pull in to a package store. A big old beautiful package store that used to be a Jaguar dealer. And lo and behold, we go upstairs and Larry and Rhonda are filming feverishly Larry's talks. So Mike Larkin, Larry, and Rhonda, we had a wonderful dinner yesterday. And, only in America can we meet people on a blog or on a video like this, and then now have personal relationships.
Yeah, we had a mini concert in the liquor store.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and the whole thing with the liquor store, it just went from one entrepreneur with a great idea to another entrepreneur with a great idea. And it's like, Larry, how did you come up with the... Mike and I were chatting with the media guy, and we found out that this guy goes back to the 70s. This guy's been doing media, knowing this stuff when you had more equipment than you needed to do anything. And this guy comes in with a little bag and a couple of camera cases, and the magic that is able to be produced is overwhelming. So, with the benefit of spending time with Mike Larkin, getting out of the the camera, and we were able to get into a car and drive and press flesh and eat and hang out. Man, there's nothing better than that. So for 4th of July, for that, we got really great things coming because it is a grind out here. It's rough. But when you got people that you can do it with together that support and enjoy and live, just makes everything worthwhile. So
Mike,
my
if you don't
compliments.
mind, Gary, you said something magical. This is also a country which embraces, encourages, and allows true entrepreneurship. This is not a country where the government is pulling the strings and controlling you and monitoring you. How great is it that every one of us can aspire to have our own business?
Yep, absolutely. And then with all our relationship, then you got guys like Mike Larkin, who's going to build us all our own media center. So it's like we're going to all be sitting in our media channels, sitting in our wonderful houses, conducting business like normal. So I wish everybody a happy 4th to their families. I hope the car people sell tons of cars this weekend. I know. Take the day off. Go have a cookout with your family. They want to see you, and but enjoy the weekend. Make some money. Eat some hot dogs, and we'll see everybody on the flip side.
Awesome. Just again, right to left. Russell Hill.
Yeah, I
Certainly a
got.
guy with an attitude of gratitude. And
I
then
do.
you know what? When we're done with my good and great friend, before we jump to Mr. Larkin, let's hear what my good and great friend Rhonda says. And if she seems a little shaky, she had to spend 8 hours in a car with me driving a radical.
Well, I understand. Peace and blessings to you, Rhonda.
Thank you so much.
Just
Wait a
some of the
minute,
stuff.
wait a minute.
But-
I want credit where it's due. She was having a bit of a crisis of faith until she drove with me and she did discover God. And she's Jewish, but several times she cried out for Jesus Christ. I was there. I was a witness.
That reminds me, I probably can't say it right, but there's this preacher at the pearly gates and trying to get in. There's two of them. One of them is like a taxi driver. He's got short, burnt jeans on and a flowery shirt and sunglasses and a hat. And he's sitting there, and the other guy is a preacher in full attire, and so. He checks off the list of the taxi driver and hands him a magnificent staff and silk sash or something like that, and then checking off the preacher guy and gave him a wood stick and a tattered piece of cloth, and he said, hey, what I've been preaching God and all my life. And yet this guy who looks like, he gets this and I don't understand. I thought it was all about bringing people to God. He said, well, you're absolutely right. And he's a taxi driver and he brought more people to God than you did because of the way he drove. And more people went to sleep for your sermon or something like that. I didn't say it the right way. Anyway,
I got it.
Thank you. Entrepreneurship. Especially, and I've been to a lot of different countries, two particularly that were very humbling on the way back to the United States were Nicaragua and Kenya. And for a couple of weeks each time, drilling water wells and doing some, work for the Lord there. It was really quite interesting, very humbling. And then I think about my past and everything I've gone through, and to be a successful entrepreneur as I am today would not happen in any other country. Not with my background. I would either be dead or in prison the rest of my life. Only in America can that happen, where somebody can really, if they apply themselves, they could. And I'm not saying, America's fair, and it's like, I hear people all the time say, well, that's not theirs. Well, mama didn't slap you on the ass and tell you life was going to be fair. It's not. But if you want it, you can go out there and get it. And you can do it morally, legally, and ethically with character and integrity You don't have to rob from Peter to pay Paul and all those types of things. Anyway, this is 250 years, and I don't get a chance, or maybe all of us don't get a chance to be. I can always focus. There's seems to be a more polarization than I ever remember politically. But you know what? It's still America, and it always rights itself at some point in time. And the people are speaking up. And where can you do that anywhere else but here, to this degree? And so sometimes I get frustrated and upset, and then I have to remind myself they probably think the same way about me. But I can engage in conversations as long as it's, a give and take, and not trying to cram something and closed off and trying to convince me of something. That's the wrong way to have a conversation. Only in America, and I'm, we've done a lot of not right things in our history, but I don't think any country has at all, ever. And we're the youngest, but we certainly set an example. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't trade what I have in my life, the friends that I have in my life, people like all of you. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Okay, it is a gift, a real pleasure. And I got to tell you, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to get off here in just a minute. I got surgery tomorrow, early in the morning. So keep me in your prayers. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'll be incapacitated probably till Monday, and I'll be back in the saddle. I appreciate each and every one of you. That I've learned something from every single one of you. I learned something from somebody every single day, because I'm open, and I'm open, and I change my mind sometimes. And people wonder, well, you had a stance on this. Well, I have more information, and I processed it, and I've changed my mind with the information I have. So everybody in here is just like me. We continue to learn. We pour into other people, and sometimes it's not fair, and sometimes things are said or done. But you know what? I've learned some very valuable lessons just to love people that are at and move on down the road. Stay in my own lane, run my own race, and help as many people as I possibly can along the way. And you know what? I make a lot of mistakes. But I get to get up. I don't have to. I get to get up every day and go at it again and overcome whatever adversities that are in my life. So thank you guys and gals.
Wait, Russell,
Let me add
we'll
on.
all be thinking of you with your surgery, but let me just throw two ideas.
Can I just add something to Russell?
Yeah,
Take
Sure,
with-
of course.
Go
I'm
ahead.
going to add on your joke, Russell.
Oh.
So I have a fear when we get to the pearly gates, it's going to be a service writer, and the first thing he says, "Do you have an appointment?"
Is this the right time for
Well
you?
done, Jeff.
Well
done, sir.
Ian, a couple of shows ago, we were talking about service being better.
Yeah.
And Russell relayed, he took his Genesis in, and instead of the guy saying, "Welcome, and how are you?" he said, "You have an appointment?" After the Genesis there. Two things, Russell, both encouraging. It's interesting that we think that we're more polarized than we ever were. But think about it. We had a time when there was slavery in this country, and half the country was willing to fight the other country, brother against brother, because half the country thought it was unjust to enslave people. And we survived it and grew as a country. And our greatest leader at that point was assassinated, and Andrew Johnson was a creep. All the things that Lincoln built up to try to integrate, and I mean literally integrate African Americans in, Johnson, he was basically a racist.
Yep.
Let's go back farther. Because, listen, Jeff Shear and I are best friends. We're on different political sides, but we love each other. And I love, Jeff might be the smartest guy on this program, except for the fact that he voted for Kamala Harris, who couldn't finish a sentence. But wait a minute.
But that's neither here nor there, right?
No, you're gonna like where I'm going with this, Jeff.
Wow.
Follow me.
There's always a but.
Infighting. Wait a minute.
Do you have an appointment?
As a conservative, I couldn't believe that they tried to put Trump in jail, which is what they do in third world countries. But think of the precedent. Thomas Jefferson did everything he could to undermine George Washington, if you know your history, he became the most bitter of enemies with Adams, who he followed as president. Okay, Hamilton was involved in that before he was killed in a duel. The backbiting was so fierce. But here's a chance for redemption. You like a redemption story, also. You are a redemption story. Adams was a driving force. He was a lawyer, great enough to defend. We already had animosity towards the British controlling us, and yet he defended a British soldier. I mean, it was like the exact opposite of what you would think the most adamant New England would do. And Jefferson, they believed, was the best writer in the whole Congress. Keep in mind, you had geniuses like Ben Franklin. So they even though Adams was on the committee with him and Franklin, they said, Jefferson, you write the Declaration of Independence. But after the presidential election, where he backbit every chance he had to Adams, they became the most bitter of enemies. This went on for years and years and years and years. And then all of a sudden, a Philadelphian kind of engendered a peace between them. They wrote copious letters to each other. And when they died, they were best friends. The last thing John Adams said before he died, I'm not making this up, was Tom Jefferson lives. Of course, he didn't know that Jefferson had died earlier that morning. And Larkin, you get a point if you know this. Jefferson and Adams died 50 years after the signing of the Declaration of Independence on the 4th of July.
Wow.
So here were two guys that built a country, became the most bitter of enemies because of political sides they took, okay, and playing a little dirty, to be honest with you. If you're a fan of history, Russell, you know that as great a man as Adams was and as moral as he was, he did one of the worst things you'll ever see other than the internment of the Japanese. He developed the Alien and Sedition Act, which meant that if the papers wrote something they didn't like, he could have them arrested. But they went from building the country to being better enemies to being best friends. So when people that are that gigantic, those kind of titans, can come back to the middle and say, you know what? Sounds just like Ian Nethercott. We have more in common than we have that pulls us apart. I think we're in great shape. How about if we hear from my girl Rhonda and Mr. Lark?
Okay, so I could do this for an hour because I come from an immigrant family that are not only an immigrant family, but Holocaust survivors on both sides. And so I'm just gonna, I've never, the one word that we grew up with was grateful to be here, to have this country, to have the freedoms, to not be afraid all the time. And I'm going to tell one story because this is like the classic story in my family. My grandfather on my father's side was a dirt farmer. I mean, dirt poor, there was nothing there. It was the what used to be Hungary. It was Czechoslovakia between the two wars. It's now in the Ukraine. And he had 10 kids. Not all of them survived, but some of them did. My father's youngest brother, my uncle, came to America after surviving Auschwitz and the rest of the camps, joined the army, got married, had 4 kids. One was brighter than the other. His youngest daughter went to Stanford Law and ended up working as a White House intern, don't laugh, during Clinton.
Wow.
Yeah. And she's now today an extraordinary international successful lawyer. But Clinton apparently at the end of his 2-year term had a very large party for not only the people who worked in the White
We're
House.
with you, Russell.
But good luck.
Sorry, thank you. Good night, everybody.
God
Good
bless.
luck.
Yeah. Clinton had a party at the end of his 2-year term, and he not only invited all the people who worked for him in the White House, but their families too. So here's my uncle, son of a dirt farmer, Holocaust survivor. He was actually a math teacher in Abington, Larry. Goes to the White House, and this cocktail party that Clinton had was, Clinton was a very personable guy, no matter what else you think of him. So here's my uncle standing there talking to Bill Clinton like he's just a regular person. So a couple weeks later, my uncle comes to my house, gobsmacked, saying, look at who I am. Look at where I came from. I'm standing there talking to the President of the United States. Is that an only in America story or what? That's what I got.
Gentlemen, am I the only one that, since I'm a boxing nut, that remembers Don King? Who got out of jail for manslaughter with the crazy hair, who went in the ring with one boxer, and when that boxer got knocked out, went out of the ring with the other boxer and stood there and went, only in America.
Yeah.
Exactly, only in America.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Mr. Larkin and my buddy Abdul.
Hey, only in America, real short story while we're telling stories. Many of you know
I
my
would
dad.
go with the Holocaust, even though you're Irish. That got a lot of good responses.
Well, it was a potato famine back before that, you know. But fast forward, in 1968, there was a law that was passed that would eventually differentialized Western Europeans from coming over to the United States.
By the way, just to make a footnote, since we're talking about what makes this country great and how we survived, in '68, you had the height of the Vietnam War. The country was polarized. People were afraid they'd get sent off to die in a foreign land for no reason. And we lost Bobby Kennedy and Martin Luther King. And once again, somehow the country survived. Go ahead.
So here's the interesting thing. Fast forward onto the 80s, where I always loved my dad. He was my hero. He was a fireman. Oh, hey. But after that, he brought over kids from Ireland that played basketball. And I always say this, you've never seen a 7-foot Irishman. But the girls could play. And from that, he was able to get 10 girls all through the 80s on full basketball scholarships. Well, the oldest one was like my big sister. I don't have any sisters. So Una, and then Jennifer, and then Maggie, and all these were scattered about the Northeast. But the law said that when they finished and they graduated, they'd have to go back to Ireland that had hard times and live off the dole. And I'm like, well, the welfare. And my dad was like, what the hell is going on that these girls get a good, solid scholarship? They should be able to choose, not be sent back packing. We found out that the law was enacted in 1968 that 40 million Irish Americans were in this country illegally.
Oh my.
So my father went on this movement, and he got together with a whole bunch of people from all the Northeast and eventually the country, and was able to pass a law that would give green cards to a certain amount of people that would apply. So that law was written and enforced before Kennedy got shot. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Why would different franchise the Western Europeans that were already here, and so that's kind of like my American story. That from that, the oldest was Una, and her kids call me Uncle Mike, crazy Uncle Mike. Maggie is now the CEO and president of Heineken worldwide.
Wow.
So they did some good things, adding to their legacy and his legacy. But my father never wanted to be noticed. He was a fireman.
Mm.
And he never quit his fireman job while doing all this in the background.
It's a great story. That is a great story.
I think we'll all agree, and we're going to jump to Paul Meyer before we get to Abdul, because I see my man in the car.
Hey,
I think we'll all agree this is the greatest country anybody ever conceived of. But if we have one true enemy in this country, it's bureaucracy. Yep. Man, can we tie things up into knots and make everything as difficult as it could possibly be? Mr. Meyer, we're celebrating the 4th of July a little early, and we're talking about what we appreciate, love, and respect about America, and we love your input, sir.
Well, speaking of legacy, I'm driving mine right now. Sorry I'm late. Last time I joined you guys, Wednesday nights, we typically go out to dinner. And last time I signed in from the restaurant, my wife got a little pissed off. She says, we're at a restaurant. You can't be doing this. So tonight
I told you Paul Meyer ate Larry. I've seen him. I've seen him.
You mean they didn't like the promotion of the restaurant? They weren't big on that?
Now, although I have been places where I've participated right from inside the restaurant, but it wasn't too crazy. But what I love about this country is it's afforded me the opportunity to live a very enjoyable life. I came here on a banana boat, didn't have shoes. No, I'm kidding. A little overboard on that one. But I came here in 1969, became a citizen, and I've had nothing but good things throughout my life. And if I stayed on the island, I don't think it would have been the same opportunity. So that's what I love about America.
What island did you come from, Paul?
The island of Curacao.
Oh, nice.
I like your
right next to the road. The blue stuff.
We wanted
Curacao blue
this is
liqueur.
a place of religious freedom, and we have now determined Paul Meyer is not Jewish, because every Jew would gladly leave America to go to Curacao, particularly when it's cold in November, December.
And
It's a
we
cultural
like
thing.
and we like the blue drapes.
There we go. I don't want to be, Paul, thank you so much for joining us. Abdul, I certainly don't want to skip over you, my good and great.
Appreciate it. Great. I've really had an incredible pleasure of getting to know all of you, because this is probably my 6th or 7th time and thing that I've joined Larry and the gang. And of course, I joined.
Wait a minute, you're over 5 times?
This is my sixth episode.
5 times, Abdul. But if you reach out to me, I can do it for cash and get you a discount. Don't put it on.
So, talk about Pearly Gate. And the Muslim version is that when he got to the gates, Angel Gabriel asked him, he said, "Are you married?" He said, "Were you married?" He said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Okay, you go straight to heaven because you've already been to hell."
Abdul, you haven't been on the show enough. Let me handle the funny stuff, okay?
Wow.
But truly, as far as my love for America really runs deeper, because I was fortunate enough to be born in a beautiful family on my mother's side who were in charge of the armed forces all over Afghanistan at that time during the King. And on my father's side, that was on my mother's side with Air Force and of course police and army. And on my father's side, my grandfather was one of the top businessmen in Afghanistan. So I was 8 years old when I was there to watch a movie where the trailer used to come. And the first trailer that showed up was the casket of John F. Kennedy. And that's when I saw the American flag and John Jr. and Caroline and everything else. And the love grew on until, of course, went to India and went to Catholic school. And then, by grace of God Almighty, I arrived here and I had my open heart surgery. And that's when, without this country and the help of NIH to fund the whole thing, I wouldn't be been able to celebrate the 200th anniversary with Betty Ford and President Ford. And but then now I'm fortunate enough to enjoy the 250th anniversary. And the great thing here is, like all of you said, you will enjoy this country even more once you step outside of this country. I've had the pleasure to stay in India in my childhood for 4 years, and I got a couple of summers in Bangalore, and I go there at least once or twice a year. And of course, I've been all over Europe, my father being a diplomat. But the greatest story that I have is that after surgery, we all went to Niagara Falls. And you go on the other side, and we went to Canada. We were so spoiled in Maryland that we said, "What's wrong with the bathrooms here? They don't have soaps and they don't have this." And that's Canada on the other side of Niagara Falls, you know. So I said, "Oh my God, what a difference!" You know, you come back, and I always tell my American friends that you got to appreciate America. The only time you will appreciate America if you leave America and come back, and beyond that, to get the education that I got, and then now where it was 8 of us arrived here, then mom and dad and everybody get married. It was 28 of us, and now mom and dad passed away, God bless their soul. Now it's 24 of us between my brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews, and we all live within 10-mile radius in South Orange County, one of the finest areas by the beach in Southern California. But to been able to do 10 years of insurance and serving a great bunch of newly arrival Jewish Iranians, very wealthy Jewish Iranians in Beverly Hills. And now Beverly Hills is the Jewish capital of America, beside New York City. You know, and Beverly Hills is Jewish, and after 9/11, on the mosques around here, we had the interface and everything else. I told my parents that we learned real Islam here in America because of the education, the freedom to do it your way and learn it your way, and not be hijacked by the Wahhabis and the uneducated interpretations. But business-wise, and to be able to go as an insurance broker from college to the car business from 91 to 2016, and then get my own marketing company from 2017 to now. And more than anything, the pride and joy to be able to have a wonderful, loving daughter and son. And my son is 40, my best friend, my best partner, and in business. And life can be any better. If we all can do more, and we all can do better, and help out one another. And right now we're facing a little bit of a challenge in California and of course New York with the migrant situation, and it's a little hampering. It's a little disheartening seeing how it's affecting the automotive industry as far as the porters and the lot porters, the detailers, and the techs, and the truck drivers that bring those trucks to us and everything, looking over their shoulders. But God Almighty willing, it should be like NFL, not for long. This shall pass too. So we're
Abdul, in the late 70s, the interest rates in America were 20%.
No,
when
first guard was
when the gas
29%.
prices hit, you couldn't give away a mid-size or large American car because nobody could afford the gas if they could even get it. They had to go there.
I remember when after the 73 war, Yom Kippur war, when Faisal, King Faisal stopped the oil, we had the odd days. So I remember 39 cents a gallon gas in DC to 79 cents a gallon, and now we're paying. Still California is okay at 4.49 a gallon.
Wow.
But, and because we have the clean air, 80 cents per gallon, we pay tax to California for clean air and the highways. So overall, spending 4 years in DC and now 47 years in Los Angeles and Southern California, it's been a beautiful ride. To have experienced the 13 best years of Afghanistan, 4 years in India, and now the rest, God Almighty willing, what I got remaining. Right? Yeah. And one of the other things that I'm so grateful to this beautiful country is that when I came here in Los Angeles in 1976, we used to rent a room for Friday prayers. We used to rent a room for 30, 40 Muslims to do morning prayers. Now we got about 100 mosques all over Southern California, and it's unbelievable that the clarity, the interface that we have once a month between our temples and churches. Right here in Mission Viejo, we have the Saddleback Church and the temple, Bethlehem Temple, right here in El Toro in Laguna Woods. So all in all, it's been a great ride, and I always consider myself exceptionally lucky because I never thought I'll be reaching age 40, let alone now soon to celebrate my 70th birthday in the August, God willing. And because of my good work,
we're glad you're here, but you touched on the spirituality of it. We know how devout Mr. Shearer is. This is a country that was touched by the hand of God.
Yep.
We absolutely do not have a country. Hold on for 1 second. Don, I'll call you back in 1 second, my buddy.
I just want to say two things. Number one, Abdul, you should ask for your money back for that clean air thing. And number two,
Yeah.
where should I send that case of toilet paper?
Hey, listen, we were a country touched by the hand of God. Washington was in a battle, and a horse fell. A horse fell, and you died. I mean, we didn't have the things that we considered normal, from antibiotics on down, didn't exist. And he was trapped in New York. Trapped. It was over. He would have been captured. He would have been executed. He was public enemy number one. And this huge fog rolled in out of nowhere and allowed him and the troops to escape. I mean, if you look at every twist and turn, somebody had to have their eye on this country, because it was a miracle how it was put together. It was a miracle how it survived. It was a miracle how, despite all the crazy things and destructive things that have happened to us, here we are. We're still here. We tussle once in a while, but we're still a country. And we see when things happen like 9/11, how we are still capable of pulling together. They say that there's a little tick up now in patriotism in the country. You know, the armed forces enrollments have gone up.
Yeah, absolutely. And your thoughts on taxes on fuel to save the planet? Good luck with that.
Well, the car business got a big boost with the new bill, the big bill that's taken out the clean air out and fracking and coal stars. So that's going to help the car business a lot. But as far as the fuel, because I'm a gas guzzler, loving car.
But it's not all good, Abdul. Because of that bill, I did invite Elon Musk in, but I understand he's in a little bit of a grouchy mood.
Oh, they're fighting like cats and dogs.
Electric incentives.
Between Trump and Musk, it's cats and dogs. And P. Diddy got off today, so that's not bad. We're in America.
Hey, I hear you got off on some of the charges.
Only two.
We got a little
2 to 10 years. That's it.
Torture him a little bit,
and some of the charges.
Yeah, he denied the bond for $1 million. So what? You'll spend another year and get out. And he beat
Are we all in agreement that it's not the $1 million bond that shook us? It was the $700,000 worth of baby oil?
Yeah.
I noticed as soon as I said that, Wendy immediately came back onto the screen. I got to talk about you and Fred later.
Before we wrap up, I want to tell all you guys that I love you very much.
Well, we love you too.
Very happy 4th of July, Independence Day.
Yeah, God bless. And
we appreciate your indulging us every Wednesday and your comments and your thoughts. We just appreciate you all. Does anybody have any final thoughts as we get ready to celebrate our 249th anniversary?
Mike's got it. Count your fingers, because there's going to be
Nobody come back waving at me like this.
I saw a post on LinkedIn. Yeah, you can't have children put out fireworks. Let's have drunk parents do it. That's a good plan. That's the one we want to be doing.
Did I hear Abdul right? He said he went to Betty Ford?
Yeah, no, not Betty Ford. I was with Betty Ford. I was 17 for the. I didn't go to Betty Ford. No, sir. No, that was the bicentennial. 20 years old.
Yeah.
20 years
Did
old.
Did you say Betty was buying one?
No. Betty Ford was he had invited all the diplomats' children to watch the fireworks from the monument into the Rose Garden.
I was going to say, is Henry now?
Yeah, that's where we went.
Funny.
There was about 500 of us kids running around like crazy all over Rose Garden and watching the fireworks at 10 o'clock at night.
My final comment will be, and I'm probably speaking for some of the other people, or not all of you on the show. Man, I still get choked up when I'm at a ball game and they play the national anthem.
Oh, yes.
Stands up.
Yes.
We're lucky. We're lucky to be in a country where we have boundless opportunities, where we can be what we want to be, where we have a lot of protections. So I'm glad
go Yankees. And go Yankees.
Go Yankees. Okay,
Yeah.
Can we, Rhonda, do you still have that mute button for Abdul?
You know what?
Tell him about it, baby.
We were doing so well, and now we're gonna fight over baseball.
No, I love the Phillies too.
That's good.
Yeah, no, I love the Phillies. I remember Mike Smith and Steve Carson, my favorites.
Abdul, was Paul right? Did you go to Betty Ford? Some pretty
No,
rare
I
creative.
met Betty Ford. I met Betty Ford.
Before she figured it out, right?
The picture with Betty Ford.
Guys, it's 8:00. We wish you all the healthiest Independence Day. We
Thank
appreciate you. We look forward to seeing you. And thank every one of you so much. Myself,
God bless.
Ian, Rhonda, we appreciate the heck out of you. And thank you so much for being so generous.
Yeah, and we're so happy that Rhonda's back and healthy again.
Yeah, you can see my face now.
Oh, you look beautiful as ever.
Absolutely.
More wrinkles, but what the heck?
Everybody stay healthy and thank you and have a great Independence Day.
Be well. God bless. Thank you.
Love you guys.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night. Ready.
I saw it. I saw the note. You were kind enough to include me in.